Hello, everyone. How are you doing? As promised, I'm back here again today because let me turn down my volume so I can click on my link. Today we will talk about relationships. Yesterday we kind of got hijacked for a minute, and that's okay because it was a great conversation. So today we're really going to talk about relationships. Let me find myself here really fast while everybody is gathering. So say hi to me if you are on. Come in, say hi, and let's chat. I'm excited to see you all today. How is everybody doing? If you're just coming on, say hi to me. How is everybody doing? It's Tuesday. It's a beautiful day outside. I just got home from walking my dogs again, and I love doing that when it's warm. It's not so fun when it's not warm, but so let me know how you're doing. Please say hi to me, comment, share. If you know somebody else. Yay, Terry, I'm glad you're better. And Amanda, hello. Yeah, it's a great day. The sun's shining. It's beautiful outside. It's a little bit muddy in my walk today, but that's okay. We have to warm up sometime. I prefer not to have muddy dogs, but that's okay. That's the story of my life. They might be getting a bath later if they don't clean up. So, hey, Michelle. So yesterday, if you guys all saw my live, I went on and was going to talk about one thing, and sometimes in my life, that's how it happens. I totally ended up talking about the dark side of healing or the shadow side of healing yesterday, which was perfectly fine. But today, as promised, hello, Betty. I wanted to come on and talk about taking responsibility for yourselves in relationships, because I actually talked to Laura, and maybe she'll come on today, maybe she won't, but she had a question for me, and so I actually messaged her after our video yesterday and talked to her for a little bit. And her question for me was, and I'll kind of paraphrase it for you. She said, remember you saying when you first started this journey that relationships will change, and some have for the good, but the negative part is going away. So we have talked about, those of you who have listened to me, sometimes you have heard me say it, I say it over and over again. When you start down this healing journey, relationships absolutely will change, because as your energy changes, things have to change. You're changing. People around you are rediscovering you and finding new ways to deal with you. And sometimes, I'll just start with this part of it right here. Sometimes some people in our lives don't like our energy anymore, and they don't really understand it. We don't really understand it. But if you think about everything, likes kind of attract likes. And when you start down this healing journey and you start doing this work for yourself, your vibration actually raises. And as it does that, those things that aren't lining up with that vibration, it doesn't feel good anymore. It feels kind of ugh. So we start having conflicts in relationships, and it seems like we start asking ourselves, why in the heck am I even doing this work? It's just causing more issues. No, what's happening is you're separating from those people who aren't serving you well anymore. That's kind of how this happens. It's kind of how it goes. And it's a natural part. Hello, Laura. It is a natural part of this whole healing process in relationships. It's totally 100% natural. It's going to happen. And some people will stay with you and move through that and adjust their energy, and things will work out. Some people will not. And it's just the way that it works. It's just, and I remember when I first started doing all my medium stuff years ago, and I started doing all this, and I kept hearing that, and I was afraid. I was like, oh, relationships am I going to lose? Like, who's going to walk away from me? That it was a little scary to me at that time. But now I realize things happen just as they were supposed to. And I've even been with people, I've even had some really close relationships this last year that I ended up just kind of, not really, we're not at odds with each other. It's just we don't communicate and do things like we used to do. And so it's just part of this healing process. It totally is. So that part of it, if anybody has any comments while I'm talking, just throw them in there. So as our vibration changes, as we heal, we're rising up out of the muck, and it's going to happen. I don't care who you are, it's going to happen. The question that I had, and it was actually from Laura, is who I'm talking about. She says, but as I'm changing and choosing to have more love and light in my life, my husband stays in the negative sometimes. I know this is my journey and I can't take him down, but I'm worried that if I don't engage with the negative comments, that we will end up not having much to talk about. And so yesterday, Laura and I got to talk on the phone for a little bit, which was kind of cool because we talked about this. And she's actually asked me questions about this before because it does get a little scary as we change. And I'm going to talk for a minute about our intimate relationships. Okay. So those that are really close to us, I'm not necessarily meaning your partner that you're having sex with, but I'm talking about these close, but I am talking about that. But it can also roll into our close friendships, close family, if we have those, because here's the deal. We have to take responsibility for ourselves in our own healing process. And we cannot control what other people are going to do. In fact, if we were trying to control the relationship, you are running out of fear. You're doing things out of fear. You're not doing it from this love and light standpoint. You're not coming at it from a place of healing. You're coming at it from a place of forcing someone to be part of your world. Terry says, just people that I thought would always be there for me walked away after Rory passed, and others that were just acquaintances grew closer. Yeah, you know, it's amazing how that happens when we have changes in our life and when things, it's really, we find out who our friends are. We find out who's truly in our life for us. And we also find out who can't deal with it, who can't deal with the energy or the things that are going on, or those who were just in it for, you know, maybe themselves, or maybe, you know, in your husband, it was in your case, your husband, you know, they were just there for him. And then, you know, he passes and they're like, well, see ya, I'm out. And so it's interesting as we go through this process with people, especially as we are healing. The thing that I want to talk to you the most about is you have to take responsibility for yourself in your relationships. You must. And anytime that you have people that are triggering you for whatever reason, whether they're right or wrong, or you think you're justified in it, that is not how you're going to ever solve relationship issues, ever. I mean, if you think about it in a husband and wife relationship, how if you are always at each other's odds about what he's supposed to be doing and what you're supposed to be doing and how it's supposed to work and what's his job and your job, nobody's ever going to win the battle of the sexes, right? Because it's just not going to be, because everybody has different perceptions and different feelings about it. But every time that triggers you, that you have those kind of conversations, that's about you. That's not about them. It has nothing to do with them. Lorraine, I'm learning to be alone. It's hard work. You know, Lorraine, it can be hard work, or sometimes it's easier to step out of this. It's hard to be alone and step into what you get from all of that. And we'll talk about that here in just a minute as well. But, you know, it's anybody around us, not just intimate relationships. It can be our kids. It can be our neighbors. It can be our sisters, our brothers. You know, anytime that you get triggered from something in that relationship, this is about you and it's not about them. Even if they're being, I hear all the time, yeah, but my husband was being such a dick. Like, he said this comment to me and it just pissed me off. And it's like, really? So what did he say to you? And what is it about that comment that got you all upset? Because that has triggered something inside of you that needs healing. Relationships are meant to be easy, even the ones with yourself. Let me say that again. Relationships are meant to be easy, even the ones with yourself. But it's creating this space and understanding that people are going to do their thing, and you need to do yours. Amanda says, does that mean let them go if they're constantly triggering, or keep trying to keep everyone happy? Amanda, absolutely not. It's not your job to keep them happy. Whether you let them go or not, it depends on what we're talking about in the relationship. The thing that I have done, and I'll tell you a story here just in a minute to like seal the deal with all of this. I will share my deepest, darkest secret here with you in just a minute. But if someone is constantly triggering you, usually it's about something that they're saying, or there's jealousies. I mean, there's a million reasons why they can be triggering you. You need to go sit with it and see what it is with you, because a lot of times we're getting defensive, and because we need to figure out something inside of us. A lot of times they say stuff and it's like, ooh, it rings true for us, but we want to blame them for being the dick or the jerk or the biatch or whatever it is. You know, that's all about them. I can't believe they said that to me. I can't believe blah, 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 blah. They do it all the time. You need to go back and do some journaling and go inside of yourself and think, what is it? Because we allow people to treat us a certain way. If you've been in a marriage relationship for a long time and you suddenly decided to join this love and light thing, and you realize that he just makes all these comments and he still keeps making comments all these times and he's calling you names or whatever it is for you, you've allowed that to go on. And you're going to have to retrain him a little bit, but you are also going to have to get to the root of the issue of why you have allowed that to happen all these years before you can step into it in a way that doesn't trigger you any longer. And you cannot do the work with them until you've done the work with yourself. This relationship stuff is an inside job. Relationships are not meant to be hard. They're meant to two people to come together. They live their life, they do their thing. When you've done your healing, two people are allowed to coexist together and do their thing and come together in a loving relationship. And I know a lot of you are going, that's not how this works. Guess what? Yes, it is, because I'm living it today. This is how it works. People in our relationships are going to say things to us. They're going to tick it up. They're going to tick us off. They're going to do things. You need to dig deep inside. And most of the times this comes down to a self-worth issue. And I will tell you my story because, so a couple of years ago, those of you that know me, I've been on a health crusade. I don't know what you want to call it this last year. Okay. So, I was able to, release about 30 pounds this last year. I've been seeing an herbalist and I've been seeing a guy who does vitamins, and I work with him. And anyway, I've been doing lots of different things. But let me tell you how I got to this point, because 3 years ago, and yes, it was 3 years ago on, I remember it was New Year's Day. And a lot of times we take our kids skiing, or we have in the past. We'll find a weekend and go skiing. And we decided to go out with our kids. My husband and the kids always go skiing. I don't enjoy skiing, don't want to go skiing. I've had a hip replacement. I didn't ski before my hip replacement, and I'm sure as heck not doing it now. So we just go to Salt Lake, spend the night, take the kids skiing. He does his thing, I go do mine, and then anyway, we were headed home, and it was New Year's Day, and we stopped for lunch. And I remember we stopped at Cafe Rio in Heber. Those of you who live around here know exactly where that's at. And I was feeling particularly, I was beating myself up. I had my thyroid removed about 5 years ago, and I was feeling, I'd put on a lot of weight, and I felt like I was at this endless battle. I had tried everything that I could even possibly come up with to do. And I always felt like I either gave up, came up short, whatever it is. And kind of the backstory to this as well. When I was younger, I really struggled with eating disorders. And I struggled with it for a long time. And I had never really tackled that for myself as part of my healing plan yet. That was something that I hadn't stepped into yet. I was afraid to do it. I didn't actually at the time think it was that big a deal. And now I've realized it was a total big deal. Anyway, we went out to lunch that day, and my husband said to me, he asked me where I wanted to go. Well, we were sitting down to eat, and he asked me, he said, Gina, we really need, he said, just like this, we really need to start eating better so that we can be in better health. Okay. Now, those of you who know my husband, he's about this big around. He doesn't have any fat on his body. His whole family is that way. To me, in my mind, he's never struggled a day in his life worrying about what he's ate or what he has to do. He stays pretty active. He's very active. Anyway, I took it very offensively. And today it seems funny to me after I've done all the work all this time, but I was so upset with him. I couldn't even talk to him. I couldn't even look at him. I don't even remember eating my lunch. I don't think I even ate my lunch. we drove home pretty much in silence, because what I heard from him was, you are not good enough and you need to get your shit together. That's what I heard. Now, that's not what he said, but that's what I heard. So we literally drove home in silence. We had to stop off at our cabin. We stayed in silence. And I came home, and he, of course, doesn't understand what's going on. He has no clue what's going on in this conversation that we're not having. And so anyway, he finally tried to talk to me that night, and I couldn't even talk to him without crying. Like, it had brought up so much for me at the time. And I wanted to be so mad at him. I wanted to tell him what a jerk he was. How dare he talk to me that way? I can't believe you said that. I thought you were in this relationship to stay. It doesn't matter what I look like. Like, I wanted those kind of things from him, but that's not what I got. And so he tried to talk to me that night about it. And I said, you know what? I just heard that you don't want me. And he's looking at me like I'm crazy. And I said, no, this is what I heard. I heard that because I had healing to do inside of me. I had things to do inside of me. And I spent 2 days sitting in silence, meditating, trying to work through all of these feelings of inadequacy and not being enough, and not being good enough for him, and not being pretty enough, and what it was coming down to was me and my self-worth. And that's why I tell you, most of the time, things that go on in our relationships is about our self-worth. And so anyway, I had to go do my healing, and then I had to go apologize to my husband, because I really, really, really wanted to tell him what a dick he was being. But it wasn't about him. This was about me. And so I had to apologize to him and tell him that I was sorry, and that this wasn't about him at all, and that I appreciated his concern. Now, that wasn't an easy thing to do, but I did it. And then I went and I got to work. And that year I started doing hypnosis. I started working on my issues. I started tackling what I would call my demons from my past. I had no idea how much control, even though I wasn't participating in the anorexia and bulimia anymore, it had so much control over my life and what I thought of myself and how I showed up for myself. And so I spent literally the next 2 years tackling all of that. I didn't touch any of the weight issues until just this last year, because I had to go work through my stuff. But I tell you this story because I want you to see that, oh my gosh, we all have our demons. We all have our things that we need to show up for, and we need to work through them from the inside out. And a lot of times it comes down, like in this case, to our self-worth and how we feel about ourselves. And what we hear from other people is based on what we think about ourselves and that perception that we have for ourselves. Now, I could have gotten totally mad at my husband and said, you're a jerk and I'm leaving and I'm out of here. I can't believe you're talking to me that way. And to me, that seems so ridiculous now, 3 years later. But at the time, that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to leave because I didn't want to face what I knew I had to face inside. And so I tell you these stories because I want you to see that, my heck, you know what? We all have triggers. We all have things inside of us that we need to work through. Now, I've spent the last 3 years working with other people, working with other healers, working through my stuff so that I can stand here, because I couldn't have told you that story and been okay with it not too long ago. But I have come so far. I've come so far in where I'm at today, and knowing that this is where I've been. I've also done a ton of my own work, and I've done a lot of sitting with myself and realizing this is where I'm at and this is what I need to work through. And this is not where I want to be anymore, because I want to be able to have conversations with people and relationships with people and know that, you know what, their comments and stuff are not about me. They're not about me. I'm taking them personal because I have my own work to do. And this is the kind of work that I do with people every day. This is the kind of stuff that I help people work through every day. 99% of the stuff we work on is self-worth issues. And this, because we've all made up these stories about ourselves, about what we're worth and how we should show up. And this is what I do every day with people. And it's amazing watching people step into their own power, watching them walk through their hell and step out of it and step into their own, knowing that they are worthy no matter what. And we're not contingent upon other people giving us approval and other people. And you get to the point where you just don't care anymore. What other people say about you, that's their opinion, that's their thing. Those of you who know me know I have a saying, what other people say about me is none of my business, because it's totally not my business. Let's see, there's a couple of comments. I was actually told those things and trying to help stuff. Yeah, Betty, it's because you believe them. We allow so many people in our world to come and dictate our worth to us. And why do we do that? It's because of our old stories. A lot of it is our growing up stories. A lot of it is doing our inner child healing and knowing and understanding. I've been taking a course, I told you that, and we were doing some inner child healing, which I absolutely love to do. And it was very interesting for me this time, because I've done a ton of inner child healing. I've done the inner child healing with myself. I've done lots of work on that. And I actually went in, and my inner child just needed to know that it was going to be okay and that she was loved. Like, so I spent my time loving on this little 4-year-old little girl, telling her how much she was cherished and loved. And isn't that what we all desire? That's what we've all wanted, but we need to start giving that to ourselves and not allowing people to dictate our worth, because it's not up to them. It's not about them. Their perceptions, their feelings about themselves come into all of that as well. There's so much that like wraps into all of this. This is just kind of in the nutshell. So, this is why I enjoy what I do, because I enjoy those people who have come and worked with me and have totally dedicated their time in healing sessions. Tell me all the time, oh my gosh, it's so nice to walk out of that heaviness. I didn't even realize the heaviness I was holding. I didn't even realize that I was even carrying all of that. And that I had allowed my dad to, tell me that I was a piece of shit and I'd never be worth anything. And I believed it. Or that it was my responsibility now to take care of the family, or, I'm never going to amount to anything. And so, you know what? That's what I do. I'm not amounting to anything. Sometimes it's not what people say, it's how they treat us. And we take those stories and make them our own. So does anybody have any comments on that? This is what I love about this amazing energy healing work. It is freaking the bomb. Like, if you think that you can't change, that's bullshit. That is a lie that we tell ourselves, an excuse for not showing up. I hear people all the time, well, I can't do that because you're not willing to show up and do the work. It's because you're not willing to be, this journaling and doing this your own work is just the beginning. It really is just the nutshell of what you can become and what you can do. And the reason I tell you that I do my own work too is because, you know what? You're not a good healer. You're not walking in love and light if you don't walk through hell and get your shit together. It just doesn't work that way. You have to show up. You have to be part of this amazing work. You have to do your own healing work in order to help other people. So does anybody have any comments, any questions, any relationship issues they're having, anything at all? Because I would love to hear what you have to say. Yeah, Terry, the work is never done. Never done. But that's the beauty of it, is because the thing that I understand now, 15 years later, is that I am no longer that girl that I was 15 years ago or 5 years ago or even 2 years ago. Even this year, I've already leaped some bounds from this year. And it's amazing to see how that works. It's amazing to see and watch the changes. And once you go do the work, the changes just happen. Once you go in and deal with it, create the healing, especially when you work with somebody and allow that energy healing to happen for you. Yeah. Laura's is peeling onions over here. Yeah. Once you allow that work to happen for you, and that's what I always tell people, there's this integration period, and then all of a sudden things just become easier. Gratitude becomes easier. Relationships become easier. We learn to step and walk away from things that don't concern us anymore. We learn to make appropriate comments when people are not being very nice to us, and not let it trigger you and ruin your day, and not go home and think about it forever and ever and ever, because it doesn't matter. That was about them. I've had people say some of the meanest things to me, and I'm like, well, you know what? That's your perception. Thanks for sharing. And literally walk away from it. The 5 year ago, even Gina, I don't think could have done that. But it's because I step up to the plate and do what I need to do. And you guys can all get there as well. It's dedicating yourself. The first step in that is understanding that you need to take responsibility for you. You need to take responsibility for yourself and stop blaming your parents or blaming old relationships or blaming exes, and realize that you all have a fight in this too. And there's stuff, in fact, 99% of relationship issues come back to you. And sometimes people are just jerks and whatever. It's because you're still putting up with it though. Those are the relationships you need to let go. You know, if people can't respect boundaries, if people can't, those are the relationships that you need to set new boundaries in place. And you will know, as I'm sitting here talking, I'm sure you're like, oh yeah, this person I need to do that with. And I've known that for a while, but I'm not willing to do it because then what's going to happen? And we get scared and we don't want to make people angry. The thing is that you don't even have to say anything. You just start doing it yourself. You just start taking care of it yourself. And, you know, I've had people who I haven't liked where the boundaries are. I haven't liked how I've allowed myself to be treated. And I say that just like that, because so I just pull myself out of it and I start saying no. I don't go make this big ado about it. I just start saying no. Nope, can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. Those are usually the people that get most pissed off about it, but they'll be fine. And they'll either deal with it or they won't. It's when you decide that you are worthy of it, when you decide that it's time to stop putting up with it, and you make yourself a priority instead of going to bed and bitching about it because I can't believe they called and asked me to do that again. I told them no last time, but blah, blah, blah. You've allowed it to happen all these years. That's how it goes. So you can complain about it or you can start doing something about it. But that is the absolute first step, is taking responsibility for yourself in all relationships and the choices that you have made. And I know this isn't the first time I've heard some people, you know, want to make excuses. And I'm like, no, there is no excuse. Now, I'm not saying that you just accept where they've been, and that's a totally different conversation. You know, sometimes there's forgiveness that needs to be done, but we need to stop saying, yeah, but they've been doing this to me, because nobody's doing anything to you. Not in your adult life. You've allowed that to happen. You've allowed those boundaries to be breached. You've allowed these things to come into your world. And you are the one that gets to make the choice to change it all. So there's my little pep talk for the day. You guys are in charge. You get to make those choices for yourself. And it's when you stand up and take responsibility for yourself and understand that you matter, because each and every one of you matter here today. But it is convincing yourself that you matter enough to make these changes in the world. So does anybody else have any other comments? You know, Terry, and you're saying the work is never done. You're right, it isn't, but it's a beautiful process. And lucky it doesn't hit you like yesterday hit you all the time. Sometimes there's just little naggy things that you know that you need to take care of. Sometimes there's just little things here and there. Sometimes it's really big, like we talked about yesterday, and it is really that deep, deep shadow stuff that's like, oh, it's heavy and it hurts. And it's oh, it's just hard. Like, it's just hard, but it's not always that way. I am working with myself all the time. I'm constantly, I mean, I have notes all over. I have journals here and stuff that I've been working on lately, because I've spent a lot of time here recently working on some stuff that I've needed to, that's not heavy, but just, it's time for it to go. It's time for it to go. And so it's not always this heavy, ugly stuff, but it can be. It can be that sobby crying craziness. And then other times it's not so hard. But it's absolutely a must that you step in and take responsibility for yourself and your world. And if people want to stay with you, they will. And then letting go of the control. A lot of times people are afraid to do that They're afraid to start changing and doing the work and doing what they need to do for themselves because they're afraid that their spouse or their family or whoever won't like who you've become. Well, that's not for you to decide. They get to choose what they want to do and you get to choose what you're going to do. So, you know, a lot of times, and I know as I've done my work, I've just had relationships on the side and they just didn't feel good anymore. They didn't feel honoring anymore. It's not that I went and made a big ado about it. We just don't spend as much time together anymore. There's other relationships that people have told me they don't want to be around me anymore. And that's okay too. Like, that's their choice and they get to do that, and that's fine. It's me allowing that to happen for them and honoring their wishes. So this is part of the healing process as well. You know, when that happens, we want to blame ourselves. They had a choice in that too. And I have learned if I approach these relationships and do it in a loving way, if they choose to walk away, I have nothing to worry about. That is about them, and what they do with it and what they say with me after the fact is not about me. That's about them. But it's getting to that point that you know who you are. It's getting to that point that you just don't give a shit anymore. And it's not that we don't give a shit about people. It's like, no, you either want to be with me or you don't. And that's kind of where I'm at right now in my whole relationships. You either want to be part of my world or you don't. I'm not going to beg anybody to be part of my world. And it's not because I don't love people. I absolutely love people, but it's getting to that point in your healing that you know that you're worthy of amazing relationships. And I want people in my world who build me up and who encourage me to keep going, and who are there for me as much as I'm there for them. And, you know, there's a whole lot of things that go into that as well. And I'm sure, you know, one way to look at your relationship is take some time and what do you want in your relationships? And do you bring that to the table? Because a lot of times we just say, oh, I want someone who loves me. And do you bring that same thing to the table? And do you treat yourself with the love and the dignity and the respect that you're asking others to do for you? There is the question that you need to ask yourself. There is an awesome journal prompt right there. So everybody that's on today, you know, we all say we want better relationships. Do you treat yourself? You can just say yes or no. There's no judgment here. It's just being honest and taking responsibility. But do you treat yourself the way that you want other people to treat you? And throw it in the comments. I want to see. Because I think this is one of the most important things that we can do, because as we start treating ourselves better, other people will step up to the plate as well. So do you treat yourself the way that you want it to be treated in relationships? Betty's saying nope. As you say that, Betty, can you feel that down there in your gut? It's like, what? Yeah, Natasha's like, nope. Laura, not all the time. Nope. Lorna says, hell yes. Do you beating yourselves up when things happen? Yeah, you know, when things go wrong, do you beat yourself up? Because that's not how you want to be treated in the relationship, but a lot of times that's what we do. So do you guys beat yourself up when things go wrong? You start wanting to go oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. Look how stupid that was. You start doing what you feel like other people do to us sometimes. Yeah, Betty's saying yes. Not always, but sometimes, yeah. And there are, I'm sure the answer, you know, to me, I can say, yes, I still do beat myself up sometimes. I have to catch myself really quick and go, oh no, because those old habits die hard, literally. It's getting easier and easier not to cave to it, but sometimes it just gets heavy. So, you know, and we need to think about that in all of your relationships. You know, how do you want to be treated? Spend some time journaling that. How do you want to be treated? What do you want out of relationships? You know, you can even get very specific in relationships with other people. You know, what do you want? Where do you want your boundaries to be? You think about it too long, Lorraine. So you get going on the mind hamster wheel. See, that's because you were triggered. When we do that, it's because you were triggered. When you've done the work, you don't even give it a second thought. But when you keep going over and over and over it in your brain and it doesn't go away, it's because you've been triggered. There's something about that conversation or about that person or about whatever's going on in there that you need to do some healing work with. Yep. Yeah, because that getting on this stupid roller coaster ride and going over and over and over it and trying to figure it out and trying to dissect it and trying to decide why, and it's not going to get you anywhere. It's doing your own healing work, so you don't have to worry about it anymore, because it's not about you. 99% of the time, what other people say is not about you, but we make it about us and we take it personal. And that's where we get ourselves into trouble. When we understand that other people's comments, are not about us, it is about their perceptions and their understanding and how they see it. And I know some people mean well, just like the comment I told you about my husband. I realized after the fact, he was just telling me, you know what, Gina, let's do this. Let's do some things differently, and he was doing it out of true, genuine concern for me, but I took it as a total insult. And I shared that because I wanted you to see how easy it is to take that out of context. And a lot of us, you guys, I'm sure all of you could relate to my story. There's just this part of like, oh my heck, you know what a dick. Like, how can he say stuff like that? That's so rude, But when it came down to it, it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with me and my feelings about myself and my insecurities and things that I needed to take a huge look at. So, does anybody else have any comments? I was always told to be kind to your enemies and it'll drive them crazy, including your husband. Yes, Lorna, yeah, kill them with kindness. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns? You want any help? Anybody have a relationship they're like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where to go with it. This one's been driving me crazy. I think about it over and over and over again. You can put it in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Does anybody else have any situations or anything? I'm just kind of watching for comments here. There's always that nice little delay. All right, well, I'll just keep talking while I'm waiting for the nice delay so that we don't waste our time here. But I hope you enjoyed your talk today about relationships. I love talking about relationships. This was on my mind yesterday as well as the healing process. It was super cool. So Terry says, let's just say dating at my age is so stupid. I can imagine. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I've decided I think I'll just be alone. It's yeah. Well, and Terry, you and I have talked about this before too. We're not as eager and willing as we used to. We used to just be like, okay, we trusted the sun and the moon and the stars to all line up for us, and now it's like whatever. It would take somebody pretty much jumping over the moon to make it okay. But Terry, this also applies to other relationships in your life. Besides the intimate, we have different levels of intimacy in relationships, and that's why I say it's not just your husband, wife, whatever intimate partner. There's other intimate relationships. We've got our kids and close friends and family, and so there's all sorts of layers of relationships here that this can apply to. So but yeah, I feel sorry I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. No. So anyway, all right. Well, if there aren't any other comments, I don't want to cut anybody off. I wanted to come on and talk to you about that. If I can help and assist you in any of your healing process, I would love to do that. You guys know how to get a hold of me. So I would love to be part of your healing. If you're ready to dive in and make some big changes, let's do it. You want to see big things happen in a short period of time. I'm telling you, it will happen for you. So if I can help you with that, I would love to do any of that. I appreciate you guys logging on and listening to me today. So I hope you have an amazing evening, and I will see you all very soon. I'll be live Thursday again at 2 o'clock for my regular live. So I will see you then. So I hope you guys have a great evening. Enjoy your night. You're welcome, Betty. Thanks for listening to me. So I'm glad to be of service. So thank you all for being here, and have a fantastic evening.